One popular request I received is how to conduct an SEO audit. Now, a detailed deep dive SEO audit can mean all sorts of different things depending on the specific issues with the website that you're facing. So I've had a client recently where localization has been a really big problem with their major e-commerce site. They've got locations all over the world and they've set up their href tags, but they also had all sorts of redirect issues, which actually took a long time to diagnose, which basically meant the Google crawler was being redirected before it could actually see the href tags, which were informing Google of the correct locations for that content to rank. And therefore only one location was actually being indexed as opposed from the other four. That's just one example where a big issue can actually hide quite well and a much more advanced detailed audit is actually required. So if we don't have time for that today, I can't possibly cover every type of SEO audit you might need to include, but I'm just going to give you a basic overview of how I approach a website, especially when an inquiry comes in, and what are the sort of basic things that I look for. Because generally what I find in the vast majority of cases, there's an established website, normally built on WordPress, with some basic SEO fundamentals already done. They might be using Yoast or Rank Math, and for that reason, a lot of the technicals are actually okay. If you're using one of those SEO plugins on WordPress, the chances are your technicals are okay, in which case the vast majority of these instances, the issue tends to be with either content or links. I will include a bit of technicals and site structure as well, and of course site speed, but generally if you witness that kind of setup where it's WordPress with an SEO plugin, generally we're looking at bigger, broader issues such as content and links rather than having to dive down into individual meta titles, things like that. But do be warned, if you are witnessing an older build, maybe a custom build, something like that, chances are those developers have put it together without any knowledge of SEO. And so it's very common when I get a custom build that's cost lots of money and I start digging and you're finding you've got all these wrong technicals all over the place, missing meta descriptions, meta titles. And I don't just mean that Google's auto-populating the text. I don't really have a problem with that. If you leave your meta description blank in your SEO plugin, I mean the actual fields don't exist on the website. So even automatically populating that is challenging. So this is a website I picked entirely at random in the cannabis niche, CBD niche. So first of all, we're going to open up AHREFS and just have a look at the overall website traffic. So traffic is looking very good. And what I tend to do at this point, we can see it's climbing over time. I tend to actually go down and look at one of the top pages to try and work out what's an opportunity to really improve, because position 1 gets double the traffic position 2, which gets double the traffic position 3. So if you do have a keyword at position 4, then the chances are you can massively increase your traffic just by pushing that one up. I'm not worried about all the hundreds of pages that are down at position 30. Yes, longer term, we want to focus on that. But your initial big wins are going to be the page that Google already likes that just needs that final push to get into the top 3. So we really want to identify one of these little opportunities where we can see they're high up, but not as high as they could be. So in this case, the one that's jumping out at me is Delta 8 UK. So that's a volume of 800 per month, and they're at position 5. So potentially a lot of upside, but we need to look at the individual search result to work out if that's true or not, because I'd be willing to bet at the top, we're probably going to have articles about legislation. Not so. So we have other e-commerce sites above us. So this is the immediate takeaway that Budmother only has a DR of 13, so not done much link building yet. We typically get our clients up to 13 and above very quickly. And so we can see above them, we've got a DR 60, a 74, but number 1 is actually just a 32. So that's a good sign that backlinks are a major factor here. Then we can also look at search intent. So what we actually notice is these are long form blog posts that they're actually ranking. So news, what is Delta 8 THC? Then we've got e-commerce at number 3, Delta 8 gummies. It says 101, so that might well be a blog post. And we've got why is Delta 8 THC so popular? So that's a blog post. Let's just have a look at just CBD store. And it is in fact a long form blog post. So this is always interesting. We've got an e-commerce page that's ranking for what is much more of an informational query. So if we look at the rest of the top 10, we've got blog post, couple of e-commerce sites. So I don't really have a problem with having an e-commerce page on the site, obviously. I think this is a strong case where adding an additional Delta 8 blog post could actually be beneficial and rank really quickly. This is why I always say to e-commerce site owners, yes, you want to rank all your e-commerce products and category pages for those relevant commercial transactional queries, but at the same time, you might as well have a blog where you write about the best products. So best Delta 8, what is Delta 8, how much is Delta 8, all of those. If you've got affiliates, all those affiliates in your niche, they'll be ranking all these different editorial blog posts about your products. So you might as well have those on your site as well. If nothing else, they'll add to your topical relevance, but you'll generally find those pages may well get more traffic and more search volume than your individual e-commerce pages. But it entirely depends on the search intent. Do look at the individual search result and work out if we're looking at, say, CBD gummies, is it e-commerce category pages that are ranking, e-commerce product pages, or is it long form blog posts of editorial? And be aware, this does change over time. So recently with Google's updates, people have been seeing more and more e-commerce sites actually outranking more long form blog posts that have been dominating for longer. Now, what I tend to do at this point is actually do a correlational analysis. The issue with that is, as we've seen, there's a slight difference in search intent, but I'll still show you the bare bones. At this point, I go to Surfer and go to Audits. I paste in the page I really want to rank, so that page that's in the middle of page 1 but could be at the top of page 1, and then get our focus keyword that we want to rank for. And what this will do is look at all the different ranking factors on the page and on all the competitors in the top 10 and work out what those competitors are doing that this page isn't doing. So short term, just the fact that we've got an e-commerce page ranking where there's a lot of more informational pages ranking, I suspect we might actually want to add a lot more content to this e-commerce page. And I definitely test out doing a long form blog post side by side. We saw a range of different keywords in that search results. So we've got Delta 8 gummies, Delta 8 UK, but then we've also got is Delta 8 legal in the UK? So I'd probably say we continue optimizing this page for Delta 8 UK as a transactional query. It looks like Google hasn't quite decided, is Delta 8 UK transactional or is it seeking information? But we can then do a separate blog post on is Delta 8 legal in UK. Now, while that's running in the background, I'm just going to do a basic page speed test. So I copy that link address. Again, you want to take the actual page you're looking to rank, not just the home page. That's a classic mistake I see people making over and over again. And we go to pagespeed.web.dev. This is Google's own testing tool. Core Web Vitals are passed. If you do find this comes up in the red or the orange, it's normally a simple fix. If you're on WordPress, I've got a plugin I recommend. I'll leave a link in the description below. And their whole business model is to make you pass Core Web Vitals with one click. And they have a free plan as well. So if you don't have a particularly high traffic site, then you can actually get that for free. So click the link below. Overall performance is actually quite low. So it's interesting, Core Web Vitals is passed, but the actual performance, speed index especially, this is looking quite slow, probably because of all these pop-ups with age verification, etc. So lots of JavaScript. That's probably going to be, we can see they're on Shopify. So quite a lot of heavy JavaScript here. Basically anything fancy like trackers and other bells and whistles tend to add a lot of JavaScript. So that's why I really tend to focus just on content text on a page. So I definitely review that. There's also debate as to just how much page speed impacts rankings, and that does tend to vary with different Google updates. At the moment, people seem to be downplaying it, but in the past, it's definitely been significant. If this is in the 20s, then obviously you want to fix that. Especially if you're doing anything like running paid ads, the fact is any traffic you're getting is going to be less likely to convert. Surfer audit is now done, so we can go in here. Keep in mind, I do get this question a lot. Why is it that if you audit a page in Surfer, you get a different result than if you're actually writing in a Surfer content editor? And that's because when you're writing in the editor, you've only got the blog post section, whereas you publish that blog post and then audit that page, and what you'll find is that you've got your headers, your footers, all that text at the bottom, all of that is diluting your content score. So if you've written a 1,000-word blog post and then you publish it, do an audit, and it says you've got 1,300 words and all your keyword densities are out of sync, that's the reason why. So it often doesn't matter too much. Your header and footer aren't going to dilute it too much unless you've got a lot of content on there, which might also be a problem. But if you really want to refine, then yes, use the content, but then also run an audit once it's actually published. So in this case, for Delta 8 UK, budmother.com is scoring pretty low. So all the competitors got content scores of at least 40 or 39 rather, but the 60s and 70s are much more likely. Now, I'm fully aware of the fact they just might not be wanting to actually intending to rank this page for Delta 8 UK. But just verifying that the e-commerce page is very much UK centric. So we're talking about pounds, talking about using Royal Mail. The href name tags are all very much European, so English, France, and Germany, and we do have variations on those for those individual locations. So yes, it seems like Budmother does want to rank for Delta 8 UK in the UK, but so far the content is not up to scratch to achieve that. Internal links, I tend to ignore this one. Whenever a client starts with us, we tend to go through programmatically adding large numbers of internal links anyway. Now, this is the real magic. So we can see UK CBD market, that should be used at least once, currently used 0 times. Psychoactive effects, that should be used 1 to 3 times, currently used 0 times. Word count is always a good sign. Most people, they'll just still have either basic filler text or just some basic descriptions on their page, whereas what you find is the actual average word count is much higher. Now, do actually click show details here, because you'll normally find 1 or 2 pages might have exceptionally high word counts and they'll be distorting the results. So that's exactly what we're seeing here. We can ignore the 6,000 outlier, but we can see that everyone else has got 3,000, 1,000, 1,400, 1,000. So we're still about 50% below what's actually required if we exclude the wholesale site. So I want more headings, more words in paragraphs, one exact keyword in title. So if we go back to the title, this is trying to target Buy Weed Online UK, which is probably very good for another page, maybe the home page, something like that. But for the product page on Delta 8 hash, you just want Buy Delta 8 hash UK, and that'll get the keyword in, not Buy Weed Online UK. You don't want your big generic keyword, which might be a really valuable keyword to you, but you don't want to slam that onto a page that's optimized for something much more targeted, much more specific. So exact keyword in H1 is an important one. Are you actually targeting the right keyword? We've got 2 H1s, so that's also problematic. The H1 is just the main title in the HTML code. We want one of those, otherwise Google's going to get confused. Time to first byte is good, but overall load time is slow, as we've already seen. So this is why I'm saying I've not even looked into site structure, technicals, anything like that yet. What we're seeing is that this page is just not optimized for what it should be targeting. And that'll be 90% of the SEO audits you conduct. Next thing is basically backlink gap. So we've already seen we've got a DR of 30, whereas we want 60, 74, 32, so at least 32. But then we actually need to go deeper and look at the page level backlinks, because we say that Google ranks pages, not websites. So just because the overall domain rating is this high doesn't mean the individual page rating is that high. In theory, we're at the same sort of level, all 5s with the UR, but we can see this page has got 1 backlink. Just CBDstore.uk has got 156 backlinks. missionc.com has got 12 backlinks. Now we actually want to check what those backlinks are actually like, because I can use a tool like Money Robot. You see I promote that in all my videos, and you can just spam a website with hundreds of links that don't actually have that much power. So what we want to look at is how many of these are actually good links. So in my link building agency, we focus on a minimum DR of 30 and a minimum traffic of 1,000. AHREFS has now brought out this feature called Best Links, and that's basically the same criteria they use. They use traffic 500. You can adjust this, and DR of 30. Do follow in content links. So basically, how many editorial mentions have you got? Same thing we build, and that'd be a good way to detect how many of these 14 backlinks, how many of those are actually decent. So this is actually saying only 1. To show all links. It's because we've got a lot of no follow links here. We've also, these websites also don't get any traffic, so they've got a DR of 36, 37. A lot of link building agencies, they'll say we've got you this DA, DR 40 link, whatever, but won't actually mention the traffic of the domain. That's a good one. So DR 61, 15,000 visitors a month. When we're doing link building, we talk about starting at DR 30, but average DR tends to be more like 55, and the average traffic more like 15,000. So much more like this one. And then this is all repeated best. So if we change this to 1 link per domain, we'll find that 14 has come right down to 6. So overall, backlink gap, not that difficult. We can see the number 1 competitor has only got 1 good quality backlink. So we already know if we fix the speed, fix the on page, and fix the general content length and quality, and then just secure 1 backlink to that page, there's a good chance we can get this to number 1. I still focus on building up the overall domain rating as well, because we saw that was a lot higher for this competitor. So we're at 13. We want to be at least 32. And so as part of that, I also like to see this DR13, how genuine is it? What are the current backlinks like? So for that, we go to backlinks, and we then change it from exact URL to domain. So we've got 150,000 backlinks. Most of those are going to be junk. We can also see a lot of duplication here. The same website linking again and again from different pages. So let's bring that down to 1 link per domain. So that's come right down to 2,000 links. Now what I tend to do here is just sort by DR and scan through to see what I'm seeing, just to make sure there hasn't been anything dodgy going on. So these links are looking a bit dubious, because this looks like some kind of automation spam. So you can inflate your domain rating without actually getting quality links. So whenever I start with a client, I like to